It's really early on a Saturday morning, and this afternoon John and I are going to go see a women's soccer game, so I decided to get up really early and make these oatmeal raisin cookies from Simply Recipes. Elise always makes really great recipes, so I thought I would try hers. These are for a friend of mine who's celebrating a birthday. First thing I'm going to do is beat the butter, which I softened in the microwave, until it's creamy. And then I'm going to add agave nectar, 2 eggs, a teaspoon of vanilla, and beat those in accordingly. Okay, the butter is nice and creamy, and now I'm going to add the agave nectar. Prior to adding the agave to the measuring cup, what I did was spray it with a little bit of vegetable oil so it comes right out, because this stuff has the consistency of honey and it takes a little while to get out completely. Now I'm going to mix this in. I'm going to raise the speed a little bit and beat this in until it's well incorporated. I've achieved light and fluffiness with the butter and, let me turn this off so you can see it, the butter and the agave nectar. It really is lovely, light and fluffy there. So what I'm going to do now is, I'll lock this down again. I'm trying to use a different light and it's not working with me, but I want you to still be able to see what I'm doing. But what I'm going to do is add the eggs one at a time. I also added the vanilla to the eggs, so it wouldn't be so difficult to add them. Okay, and then again mix this in until well incorporated, and then add the other egg. The eggs and the vanilla are beaten into the butter and the agave, and I don't know if you can tell from here, but it appears that the butter looks like it's suspended, and that's okay, because that's what happens when you have this much liquid mixed with the butter. Now what I'm going to do is mix all the dry ingredients together and then add them to the butter mixture. This spicy looking mixture is the flour, baking powder, which I sifted as usual, and ginger, allspice, cinnamon, and cloves. Oh, and nutmeg. Elise usually calls for just nutmeg in this recipe, but I like my cookies to be spicy. So that's what I did. I added half a teaspoon to a quarter teaspoon of each. The cloves I added a quarter teaspoon, and the ginger I added a quarter teaspoon because they're stronger flavors. The direction was to stir in the flour mixture, so that's what I've done, and it looks like it's mixed in really well. And next I need to measure out my oats and the raisins, and she calls for walnuts, but I'm going to use pecans in this recipe, so I need to measure those out and add them accordingly. I have mixed together the oats and the raisins. That's why they look kind of powdery, because it helps break up the clumps, which some of them I had to do by hand. You know, there's a couple here. I just break them apart because I keep my raisins in the refrigerator so they keep longer, and then they get clumped together sometimes. Alright, this is taking a little too long. I'll just mix it up. And I mixed in the pecans, which I did a rough chop on because I bought a package of pecan halves. Okay, now I'm going to add it a little bit at a time to the butter mixture. It helps if you have a really big mixing bowl and you can put some of your ingredients. Well, that's not really a little bit, but that'll do. Okay, lock it down and mix it in. So I'll do a couple of these until they're all mixed in, and then we get to scooping them out. I've scraped down the sides of the bowl once, and now I'm going to clean off the paddle and try to shape these into balls the way that Elise described in her recipe. But I'm going to place them onto baking sheets that have been lined with parchment paper. I have to admit that I did not use my hands to make these balls. I used the 2-spoon method. So I took 1 spoon and I scooped it up, and I used the other spoon to make sort of the ball shape. And now what I'm going to do is put them in the oven because both are done. Alright, so my oven is set to 325 degrees because we're using agave nectar and we need a lower temperature. And I'm going to stagger my cookies, my cookie sheets actually, because my oven requires it. Alright, get this other one. These I made slightly bigger because I really have no idea how much these guys are going to spread, because they're really very butter heavy. And the recipe says 20 minutes. Well, what I'm going to do is set my timer for 10 minutes and then come back, switch the order of the cookie sheets and their arrangement in the oven. Okay, we're at the 11-minute mark and the cookies have spread out a bit, so I'm really glad that I left extra space. And the ones on the bottom are starting to get a little golden brown at the ends. I don't know if you can see it there, but they are. And so now I'm going to switch the order of the pans. I've set my timer for another 10 minutes, and now I'm going to go clean up the sink. The cookies are fresh out of the oven after 22 minutes of baking as specified on Elisa's recipe, and as she specified as well, the cookies are golden brown around the outside and light in color on top. Now they have to rest on their cookie sheets for at least 30 minutes before moving them to a cooling rack. So actually what I'm going to do is put these cookie sheets on top of a cooling rack so that they'll cool faster. In the meantime, I have 2 more cookie sheets in the oven baking. I've decided to break down and taste one of the ugly ones. Okay, here we go. There's the innard shot for you. It's really good. These were a little browner because they were made on an older cookie sheet that's a darker one, so you can really tell the difference because they were in there for the same amount of time. But they're really yummy cookies. I'm glad I added the extra spices, and I'm also glad that I cut the amount of agave because you really can't taste it as much as you can taste the oatmeal and the raisins and the nuts. They're really good. I have to send Elise an email and let her know.